Talk is cheap, but in Beverly Hills, it might cost me my diamond for next season. Hey everybody, welcome to my channel. I'm Raphael and I'm here to review episode 5 of The Real Housewives Talking in Circles of Beverly Hills. We start the episode off with Garcelle looking at the house property that she's going to buy in Ventura County that's 35 miles away from Malibu. She wants to make the second home her beach house. And I'm like, wait a minute, her second home. Now I said this in my review for the Housewives of Dubai last week, but Garcelle, do not let Giselle from Potomac find out that you have a second home because you know it's going to piss her off. You know, in Giselle's world, you're only allowed to have one house. Anything higher than that, the friendship is probably over. So Garcelle, just keep it to yourself. So she's looking at the house with her sister Chantel. And this is news to me that Garcelle, she has 4 sisters and 2 brothers. Unless I A, forgot, or 2, it went over my head when Garcelle mentioned it when she came on to the show. I completely forgot or just completely oblivious to that information. But okay, Garcelle, she's looking at the house. The house is a little run down, but it doesn't really matter. It has a couple of white refrigerators, a couple of stains on the walls. But again, it doesn't really matter because Garcelle says she's just gonna knock it all down and rebuild it up. And I'm like, no, Garcelle, you also fell into the whole housewives tropes of, oh, I'm gonna be rebuilding my house for another storyline. But you know what? It is what it is. At this point, it's just life. But she's excited about the house because she was saying that when she was younger, her and her siblings, they were always surrounded by people with so many nice houses. And she always wanted that. So now that she has the opportunity to have that, here we are. And her sister Chantel, she's also being supportive and reminding Garcelle, like, yeah, when we were younger, we didn't really have the nice big house. And I'm glad that you have the opportunity to have that now. So it must be like a full circle moment in their lives. Garcelle is looking at the views. The view of the house is nice, of course, is the beach. And speaking of the beach, Chantel and Garcelle, they decide to go outside and walk on the beach. Garcelle, she starts running on the beach in slow motion towards the water. And I'm like, wait a minute, is she about to pull a Jennifer Lopez from Love Don't Cost a Thing music video when J-Lo was running on the beach in slow motion and taking off her clothes one by one? And then at the end, she threw her bra at the camera. Like, Garcelle, are you about to start stripping? Eventually, they sit down on the beach. Garcelle is telling her sister Chantel, like, she hopes that in the future that her sons can appreciate this house because I'm assuming that she wants to give it to them in the future when they're old enough to, like, take care of it and manage it and come visit. Then we get Dorit showing up to this restaurant, and I'm surprised that she didn't greet the waitress by telling her, do you think that you can sit me in the best seating, my baby, in this restaurant? Please don't sit me anywhere near any type of doors because it's gonna trigger my anxiety. So do you think that you could do that for me? Because I just got robbed 3 weeks ago, but I really don't feel like talking about it. So please don't ask me anything about it, even though I'm filming a show and I'm constantly talking about it week after week after week. Okay, my baby? Thank you. And remember, anything that you're going through is nothing compared to what I'm going through. Like, I'm surprised Dorit, that wasn't her hello and her good evening. But she sits down. The waitress asks Dorit, what does she want to order? So Dorit, she goes on and says, do you think that I can get the Woe Is Me milkshake with a cherry on top? Yeah, and can I also get the anything for a storyline french fries with no ketchup, please? And light salt. Thank you. But the salt has to be from France because France has the best salt. Yeah, I've been to France 100 times. Have you? You haven't? That really sucks. Okay, so let's go on. For dessert, can I get I'm the biggest actress this season and with a little bit of whipped cream on top, okay? Thank you so much, my baby. I love it. I love that outfit. Yeah, it's so fetch. Is that Fendi? I love it. It's so cute. Now go get my food. And remember, nothing that you go through back there in the kitchen is nothing compared to what I went through a couple of weeks ago, okay? Thank you. Next thing you know, Erica Jane, she pops up and she's like, I see that somebody is lonely. She sits down next to Dorit. Dorit, she goes on to talk about her therapy session and blah, 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 blah. Hey, Macarena, all right. I'm like, okay, Dorit, just go ahead. Just let it all out if you have to. Erica, she's listening. Eventually, they start talking about Lois, Lisa Rinna's mom, and she's in this thing called hospice, which, by the way, they mentioned it last week. I thought I had heard hospital, but no, I Googled it, and hospice is this whole different thing. Lois's last demands were that she does not want to be fed through a feeding tube, and if worse comes to worse, she does not want to be resuscitated, and we all know how the outcome of that situation plays out later on in this episode, which is unfortunate. I can only imagine what Lisa Rinna went through with this whole situation as it was playing out in real time. So Erica and Dorit, they're both concerned about it. Dorit, she changes the conversation and she tells Erica, so I was talking to PK, you know, Bubba, and he was telling me that maybe we should go to Mexico while he sets up our second scam. I mean, while he takes care of the children back at home while I'm away in Mexico traveling for a little bit and clearing my mind after everything that happened to me that wasn't, you know, planned or anything because of insurance. So I think that we should go to Mexico. What do you say, Erica? Speaking of, I think that Dirty Diana, she also suggested that we take her jet plane, and I just think that it'll be so cool. Like, it'll be really fetch. What do you think? Erica, she's not gonna give that up, and she's like, oh, well, it's about time that somebody offers to do something luxurious. I'm in. And of course, we're off to Mexico. So then we get another restaurant scene between Kyle and Crystal, and I'm like, wow, everybody is hungry this episode because it's just restaurant scene after restaurant scene after restaurant scene. But Kyle, she was quick to pull out her producer hat, and she puts it on, and she tells Crystal, so Crystal, can you please let me know what was it that Sutton said to you last season that was so dark? Please let me know. I need a storyline. I'm trying to take you down. So Crystal, she tells Kyle, no, I'm just not going to repeat anything that Sutton said to me last season. Whatever Sutton said to me is whatever Sutton said to me. And whatever came out of Sutton's mouth is whatever came out of Sutton's mouth. And I'm just not going to repeat it again, okay? So whatever Sutton said to me is going to be between me and Sutton, okay? So Kyle, she was not having it. She's like, that's bullshit, Camille. She tells Crystal, she's like, no, absolutely not. I'm not taking that for an answer. That is completely wrong. What you did was completely wrong. That is dangerous. And I'm like, dangerous? But yet Erica Jane, she has the word dangerous in her tagline. Yet you just let her do whatever you want, right? So Crystal, she's like, fully noted. I understand. I'm just not going to repeat it again. Like, I understand it and fully noted. I'm just never going to do this again. Okay. So in the future, I'm not going to do it again. That should have been it, right? Like, that was it. That was that. That was done. Okay. Like, we can move on. But Kyle, she is not letting it go. I'm like, Kyle, she just said that she won't do it in the future again. That's that. Let it go. But Kyle, she insists on it. And she's like, no, we're not going to let it go. You are a dangerous person. Like, I can't believe you. And I'm like, Kyle, relax. She was so upset. Usually I like Kyle, but for some reason this season, she's really rubbing me the wrong way. Like, she is coming off very out of 10. And she's telling Crystal, like, what she's doing is dangerous, accusing Sutton of doing X, Y, Z, or just painting her out to be this bad person and being passive aggressive. And I'm like, passive aggressive? But your friend Erica Jane was being aggressive to Sutton last season. Yet you stood there like, oh, such nice skies. I think it's sunny today. Like, you had nothing to say then. All of a sudden now, Crystal is the bad guy. Okay, so she goes on to tell Crystal, I just feel like you're gaslighting all of us. And I'm like, gaslight? Gaslight, Kyle? Gaslight. Kyle, come over here. Come over here. Get a little closer. Let me get closer again to you. Come over here. Come on. Gaslight. I'm telling you, everybody just throws around that word nowadays. Like, the word toxic was used like 3-4 years ago when that word became popular. Like, oh, you're toxic. This is toxic. I'm toxic. This is toxic. Now the new word is gaslit, because Kyle, how is she gaslighting you? I mean, yeah, I could kind of see it because she's throwing something out there, but she's not really trying to change your mind or manipulate anything. She just kind of just said something out there about Sutton. She's not really trying to do anything malicious about it. If anything, like I said in my last review, I feel like Crystal is either A, lying about this whole situation, but I'm just like, why would she lie? Why would she put that out there if she knows that the audience and the women on this cast are vicious? And they're gonna come after her, and they're gonna keep digging until they break her and they have her reveal the truth. I just don't think that Crystal is that dumb or dumb at all to put herself in that situation. I feel like whatever she feels or whatever she's hiding, there has to be something to it, because it's just not making sense. It was just all confusing to me. Again, she just wouldn't put it out there for everybody to tear her apart online, like call her a liar, X, Y, and Z. For what? Like, what does she get out of that? That's why I feel like there must be some type of ounce of truth to what Crystal is saying. But we'll get to that later on when we find out what it is. So then Kyle, she continues on saying she's a gaslighter, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, Kyle, please, you're the biggest gaslighter. If anything, you're not even a gaslighter. You're a stove. So that's that. Eventually, they kind of squashed the conversation. And, honestly, I wish that because Crystal, we seen a little bitchy side from her, like a little ounce of bitchiness from her last season. And I wish that she would just kind of turn that up to a 10 and just let Kyle have it, because I feel like Crystal has it in her, but she's just so very calm about it. She's very poised, but she knows that she probably has it deep down inside. But Kyle, she goes on to say, so, are you coming to Mexico? I'm like, absolutely not. Don't try to change the conversation and try to make it playful and fun now after you just call me X, Y, and Z. No. And I do wonder what happens after because we only get like a certain couple of minutes from the scenes. I wonder what happens after the cameras are away. Do they continue eating their food, or do they just kind of call it quits and just walk away from each other? I always wonder what happens behind the scenes. Then we head over to Kyle's house, and Diana shows up, and Kyle, she goes to answer the door. But why was Kyle walking that way when answering the door? I mean, her legs were wide open. You would think that she had on a diaper or something the way she was walking. She was just coming, and her legs were wide open. I'm like, why are you walking like that? So she opens up the door, Diana is there. And you know, Diana, this is episode 5. And for somebody who talks about having so much money every other episode and stuff, I don't know, I just expect this like glamour or something from her, but she just gives us nothing. She's just there like in a tracksuit. I'm like, okay, gym teacher, let's go. So then they sit down on the couches. Kyle is telling her about Paris Hilton's wedding that her and Kathy were at and blah, 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 and how much of a good time it was. And she also goes on to say that her daughter, Farrah, is also engaged and she had to hide her wedding ring at Paris's wedding because she didn't want to make it about her. And I'm like, better woman than I am, because I would have been at Paris Hilton's wedding like, whew, it is hot in here, isn't it? Yeah, it's extremely hot. Oh, this is nothing. Yeah, oh, the ring, I'm engaged. I would have been like, can I get 3 plates of food? Yeah, 3. I would have been like, oh, you know, you like my nails? You like my nails? Yeah, I just got them done yesterday. Oh, that right there? That's just the engagement ring. It's nothing. You know, upstage Paris Hilton. But, you know, Paris Hilton should really be on the Housewives of Beverly Hills. I would love to see her on here. I mean, she seems like a good time. I don't know if she'll really, you know, be able to like really roll with this group of women. But I mean, I would like to see her as a friend of the show or something if Kathy just involves her in and, you know, kind of slowly push the Ree out at least. So they're sitting down. They eventually, I believe, start talking about babies. And then Diana, she lets us know something about her, something real personal. I was like, wow, I was just really in shock when Diana went on to say that after she gave birth to her baby, she got pregnant, I believe, a couple months after. And she was all excited about it, everything and stuff. And when she went to the doctors, she was getting her stomach inspected and she was on the phone with her husband. What was his name? Asher? I forgot his name already. And then the doctor was like, oh, put the phone down. The baby is dead. And I'm like, wow, that is insane to me. Come to find out the baby was inside her dead for a couple of weeks. And I'm like, what? I did not even know that was possible without finding out. I mean, that is insane. The human body is a very beautiful thing, but it's also a very scary and dangerous thing because she goes on to say that the baby eventually kind of fell outside of her body. She almost bled to death and she passed out. And I'm like, that is insane to me, Kyle. She was just like, oh my God. And, you know, again, it was a very, very scary, traumatic thing for Diana to go to. She says that she still wants to continue trying to have a baby. She doesn't want things to end on a bad note and that memory be her last memory of trying to give birth. But again, for Diana to go through that, that must be a scary, scary thing. And hopefully she does try again in the future if she has it in her. Then we get another restaurant scene between Garcelle and Sutton. Garcelle, she looked really pretty in the outfit that she had on. I like the slick back ponytail. Sutton, she starts doing something strange at the dinner table with the chopsticks and the ice. I'm like, what are you doing? That's not how we drink the juice, but okay. Garcelle, she was quick to pull out her producer hat and she tells Sutton, so Sutton, what was it that you told Crystal last season that was so dark? Huh? I'm like, wow, we get directly to the point here. But, you know, honestly, Sutton, even if she did say something dark last season to Crystal, she is not going to admit that. What is she going to do? Like, oh, yeah, I said X, Y, and Z and have everybody come after me and a possibility of her getting kicked off the show? No, of course, she's either A, going to play dumb, or B, she's going to be confused because there's probably nothing really that she said that was dark. She goes on to tell Garcelle, I mean, the only thing I can remember was there was this little conversation that she had with Crystal last season that I don't remember what led up to that conversation, but they were talking by the pool. And then I believe Sutton, she went on to tell Crystal, oh yeah, you know, when I was at a pool party, there was a Chinese girl, a redheaded girl, and a black girl. And I'm assuming that that's what Crystal got offended by or something about it bothered her. And then Garcelle's like, wait, so that was it? That was the dark comment that you made? And Sutton is just like, yeah, I mean, I didn't say anything else. I mean, to my recollection, that's all I can really say. And I'm like, I mean, I don't want to invalidate Crystal's feelings because if she felt some type of way, then okay. But what I find so interesting and what I'm trying to, you know, give Crystal a little bit of hope in what she what she feels in this whole situation is because if the shoe was on Garcelle's side, right? Like, let's say Garcelle was in Crystal's shoes and she was to tell, you know, the group or just anybody, or she was to tell Crystal, oh, you know, well, Sutton and we had a conversation last season and she said something to me that was really dark, but I don't really want to admit it. I'm pretty sure that the audience and even the cast members will all rally up behind Garcelle like, Sutton, you must have said something dark. Confess, confess, confess. But because it's Crystal and people feel indifferent about her, they don't really feel like, oh, she's like a fan favorite or anything like Garcelle. They're willing to look past her feelings and like, Crystal, you're a liar. You're doing too much. You're doing all of this for a storyline. You're trying to keep your diamond for next season. Stop it. You're doing too much. Stop trying to come for our favorite Sutton. But again, it's because it's Crystal. If it was Garcelle versus Sutton, Sutton, that would be a whole different situation. It'll be a whole different perspective then, because I'm pretty sure that everybody will believe Garcelle in a heartbeat. Like, they wouldn't question her, like, stop, you're trying to make this up for a storyline, why? So again, it's just, I find the dynamic interesting. I'm pretty sure that Kyle would not talk to Garcelle the way she was talking to Crystal in that dinner earlier this episode, calling Garcelle, I just feel like you're gaslighting us. I feel like you're being passive aggressive. I'm pretty sure that Kyle wouldn't do that to Garcelle. So again, it's just an interesting perspective in that case. As for Crystal and the whole situation, I mean, the only way I could also look at it is Sutton said all of that just to basically say, like, oh, look, I have friends of color. How can I be racist? And again, I may be completely wrong, and Sutton may not even have a single racist bone in her body, but after her and Kathy's comment that they made last season about not seeing color at their age, it always rubbed me the wrong way, because from experience, every time somebody says, I don't see color, everything that comes out of their mouth after that is a bunch of bullshit. And going back to the idea of Garcelle and Crystal swapping places, let's say that Sutton, someone who the audience favors, and Erica, someone who the audience hates, let's say that they swap places and Erica was the one that said the same exact thing that Sutton said to Crystal about, oh, I was at this pool party with this black girl, this Chinese girl, and this redhead girl, and everything was fine. Let's say that Erica said that to Crystal. Would the audience also be as forgiving, and would they give her a pass or no, just because they simply hate Erica and they love Sutton? Would they all rally up behind Crystal like, oh, Crystal, no, I definitely believe you. Erica definitely said something dark. I definitely believe you. Like, Erica, you are a monster. You are racist. You are this. Simply just because the audience hates her. It's just interesting to, switch up the dynamics, only because the whole situation is confusing, because Crystal is not really making it clear what exactly she's bothered by. Then we get a date on the screen, November 15, 2021, the day that Lois, Lisa Rinna's mom, passed away. And then we see Lisa in the confessional, and she tells us how much her mom meant to her. And then we get a little montage of Lois and her moments on the show. And it was just so devastating, because Lisa Rinna, yes, we've seen her on the show and we see what kind of antics she puts up on the show. But one thing about her, I really truly do think that she loved her mom so much. And it was just so devastating for her. You could feel whatever way you feel about her, but she was very strong for keeping it together in the confessional, because as she was talking about the situation, she shed a tear here and there, but she kept it together. Like, she was very strong for that. And I feel for anybody who was watching this episode and was triggered, like watching this and like, experiencing something that she also went through, like you lost a loved one, a parent, a mom, a dad, a relative, somebody close to you. I feel for you if you have gone through this situation, and I feel for Lisa as well. So Lisa, I mean, all I can hope is that she found peace within herself. I feel like she did, because she was very, very mellow and very, she was still, she's usually at a 10 with her energy, but she was still okay. Even when she met up with the group at the airport, they finally met up at the airport. They thought, like, is she going to come to Mexico? Is she not? Is she is? But she showed up and she said, well, I wanted to come because Lois, my mom, she would be disappointed if I didn't go on the trip. And honestly, yes, Lois would be upset if Lisa missed out on the trip for any different specific reason. So I was with her on that. And on top of that, everybody mourns differently. Everybody deals with different situations. And Lisa, some people might say, oh, I feel like, this is cold-hearted for you. Your mom just passed away. Here you are going on a girls trip in Mexico. No, I mean, what would you want her to do? Be at home and just crying her eyes out? No, she might as well be distracted a little bit. And then maybe even after the trip, maybe then she'll even cry. Maybe she'll even cry on the trip. But she shows up to the airport. Everybody's hugging her. Nobody's really trying to be like, oh, I'm so sorry for this. I'm so sorry for that. I'm so sorry. Like, trying to, kill the mood or anything. They're just like, oh, I love you. I love you. We're going to have a good time. We're going to have a good time. Like, keep her in good spirits. And I love that. I love the little bond that they all had together within Lisa's situation, which is crazy to say too, because, usually we just see them all just being wolves. So it was nice seeing their south side for at least a split second. And then Dorit, I just wanted to jump through the screen and just tell her, shut up. Like, in her confessional, she's like, it's nice that we're all here for her, because experiencing the trauma that I went through, I can relate to her. And I'm like, Dorit, cut it out. Like, yes, the group is here for Lisa, and they were here for you too in your situation, your storyline or whatever. But cut it out. Not everything has to relate back to you and your situation. Like, cut it out. Like, that is just, they get on the plane, then they land in Mexico. They get in two different vans. In one group, I believe we have Garcelle, Erica, Sutton, and Crystal, right? They're in one group, and then the rest of the group, I believe, is Lisa, who's the rest? Kyle, Diana, and who's the last person? And Dorit. Garcelle, Garcelle is like, Sutton, I bet you $5 that Dorit is speaking Spanish. And then we cut over to the other van, and what is Dorit doing? She is speaking in Spanish. ¿Cuántos minutos para llegar al hotel? Ok, gracias, papi. Gracias, mi baby. Aquí voy a estar aquí sentado con mi bolsa de Louis Vuitton, ok? Gracias, mi papi. The fact that Garcelle called it out. And then Sutton, she was just like, yeah, how much you want to bet that the driver is speaking English back to her? And what is he doing? He's like, yeah, Dorit, we'll be there in 20 minutes. because she was asking how long until they get to the hotel. Then we finally get to the hotel and we get to the penthouse suite. And I believe Dirty Diana, she was staying there. And I mean, I wasn't really impressed by anything that she was telling us again, because she said that she had people fly out to Mexico to, you know, get the room ready for her, blah, blah, blah. We already seen the same thing at La Quinta when she did it at Kyle's house. Well, she did it at the hotel. So I'm like, okay, if anything, I was looking around for Ricky. But again, we already saw this from her, so what else you got? Everyone is getting ready for the first night in Mexico. They're having a dinner by the beach on the sand. Crystal and Diana, they were the first one to show up to the table downstairs. Both of their outfits were Sutton. She shows up. Her outfit was also Lisa Rinna. She showed up. I actually liked her dress. It was a nice slick red dress. It looks good on her. And then I believe Garcelle, Kyle, and Erica showed up. Garcelle, her outfit looks nice. I love the white dress. Kyle, Erica Jane, what's going on? What's going on here? What do we have here? Because the shoes didn't go with the dress didn't go with the shoes, and then on top of that, she had this little purse. It looked like a weapon. I'm like, what? So weapons are fashion now? She had a little ball and chain with like spikes on it, and I'm like, what are you about to do? Go film like the Kill Bill sequel or something? They all get to the table, and I'm not sure if Erica was trying to take a dig at Sutton by saying, oh yeah, I like these type of bags, just in case you gotta knock somebody the fuck out. And if I was Sutton, I would have been like, so who? Who are you talking about? Who do you want to knock the fuck out, huh? If you're going to mention it all. Mention it all. You know, because you're not going to throw those type of subliminals around here like, okay, we could go by the stand over there and we could wrestle. Lisa goes on to explain that she's dealing with a lot of emotions after her mom just passed away 2 days ago, but she's still trying to remain strong. Kyle is like, yeah, it's a whole different type of pain when your mom passes away. That's just a whole different type of loss. And it's just so unfortunate because Lois, she seemed like she has so much life. She has such energy. Just like Lisa Rinna, both of their energies were at a 10, even for her age. But eventually they make a toast on Lois, and I thought the whole moment was cute. So the RHOBH shows up and she's just like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry to be late. The hotel, they put me on the level 1 floor, and I just couldn't do it because, you know, it was just too many people standing outside of my hotel room, and I'm just like, it would not have mattered if they put her in the penthouse suite. She still would have found a way to make this about her robbery and her situation and about herself. So the RHOBH, you mean to tell me that your real reason that you were late was not because you were doing glam and getting all glammed up in your room? How convenient is that? Lisa starts noticing the awkward tension at the table, and she's like, okay, I know I missed Sutton's event, but what else happened here? What else am I missing? And I'm like, oh, Lisa, please stop acting. As if Kyle didn't text you the same night and told you everything like, oh, please call me tonight. Mauricio is sleeping, so call me as soon as possible. I need to tell you everything. Me and Sutton almost got into it, and I almost put her in her place. Yeah, that's right. Call me as soon as possible. Like, please, we already know that you know everything, but now she's just pretending like, oh, I don't know anything. So Sutton, she starts up the conversation, and she's like, well, Crystal, I just want to go back to the comment that you made about me saying something dark and et cetera, et cetera. I just really don't appreciate you trying to assassinate my character. Like, I don't appreciate you talking to me or talking about me in that type of way. I know that I'm a good person. My family is a loving family. So I just don't appreciate my character being dragged the way you want it to be dragged. And again, they keep walking in circles, right? Like, they keep saying about this dark comment, and Sutton, she keeps insinuating like, you're trying to pay me out to be something that I'm not, but that's something she's not mentioning, right? Until Erica mentions it in a couple of minutes. They continue pressuring Crystal like, what did you say? What did you say? What did you say? Crystal, again, she's like, no, I'm not saying it. I'm not saying it. She starts off with Garcelle, and she's like, you know, I was doing, I believe her word that she used, her big word that she used was workshop or workshed, something like that. I don't understand what the word was, but she used some big word, right? And then Garcelle is just like, the what? The what? And then she's looking at Crystal all confused. And then Crystal is just like, yeah, I know that I'm using a couple of big words that you don't understand. And I'm like, Crystal, stop. In the name of love, before you get your diamond snatched up and you don't come back next season. Like, what is wrong with you? Like, what? What was that for? I mean, she must have meant it in her head. Like, oh, you know, I know I used a couple of big words. I'm sorry. Ha ha ha. But no, that sounded very shady, especially in Crystal's tone. That is very like monotone. It sounds even bitchier. So I'm like, Crystal, stop it. I'm glad that Garcelle, she was just like, oh, I understand big words. Don't get it confused. We all understand big words here. But Crystal, I mean, I'm trying to be mutual with your side as well, but you you didn't make yourself a good case with that little comment that you made right there. Erica jumps in to try to make it about herself. And I'm like, Erica, what have I been telling you these past couple of weeks? To just stay to yourself, stay out of it. Don't involve yourself in anything that doesn't revolve around you, because the second that you do, you're gonna put your foot in your mouth. And what does she do? She's just like, I just find it so funny that now me and Sutton are on the same boat. You know, last year I felt like my character was being assassinated, and now she feels like her character is being assassinated as well. So now she feels what I've been feeling the entire time last year. And Garcelle, she called it out. Garcelle was just like, It's two different situations. Erica, you are being judged by everybody and every single planet in the universe. Sutton, she's just being judged by us and Crystal. Crystal is assuming that she said something dark in this conversation, and we still don't know. So they continue going back and forth about this dark comment. Kyle, she jumps in and she's like, Crystal, I just feel like you need to just say it. Just say it, or else you're just gaslighting us. And I'm like, Kyle, please stop using that word. Like, especially coming out of your mouth. She jumps in and she's like, Krista, can you please just tell us, please, my baby? Just tell us what exactly this Sutton says, so that way we could just move on from this. Crystal, she's not budging. She's like, no, me and Sutton, we already squashed it. We already talked about it. It's fine. I'm not repeating anything over and over and over again. And they just continue talking in circles. Sutton, she starts getting pissy and she's like, you're talking about my character. You're pissing me off. I am not that type of person that you're trying to describe me as. And again, she just won't say what Crystal is assuming that she's trying to get at Sutton. So then Erica, this is where I give Erica a couple of points, because Erica jumps back in and she's like, wait, so Sutton, what exactly do you think that she is trying to say about your character? What exactly do you mean? Like, I want to hear from Sutton, nobody else. Nobody else. Sutton, go ahead. So Sutton is just like, no, she just thinks that, like something really dark comment. Again, Sutton knows deep down inside what Crystal is alluding to, but for some reason, she doesn't want to speak the words out like, oh, she's accusing me that I'm racist. I'm not sure why she's not saying it. So then Erica, she just calls it out and she's just like, so wait, so I think what you're afraid of and what you're upset about is that Crystal is trying to say that you're a racist. And I'm like, finally, somebody says it. And I'm like, wow, coming from Erica. But Erica's trying to take Sutton down in any type of way. So of course she's going to say that or try to paint her out in that lighting. And they made a good point by saying, Crystal, you should say what this dark comment is, or else people, the audience and the cast members are going to fill in the blanks. And of course, they're going to think the worst. They're going to think like, oh, she probably said something racist already about the conversation about not seeing color. So of course, it's probably going to be something on those lines instead of something, it could be something completely different in your world. But again, to the audience and to the viewers, it's the worst. So Crystal, you're not doing your friend Sutton any favors by keeping it to yourself. And they're like, say it, just say it. Sutton's okay with you saying it, just say it. But then we finally find out that it's the conversation about the pool situation, about Sutton saying, oh, I had a black girl, a redhead girl, and a Chinese girl in the pool, and that was it. And I'm just like, okay, again, I'm still trying to figure out, I don't want to rule out Crystal's feelings completely yet, but I'm still confused. I'm like, I don't understand it. I don't understand. I feel like there must be more, because Crystal would just not put herself in this situation to look like a complete clown. Like, I mean, unless she's really that dumb, but maybe I'm giving her too much credit, but I don't know. What do y'all think? Do y'all think that there's much more behind the scenes or something that we don't see? And Crystal is just really trying to look out for Sutton so she doesn't get canceled, as Kyle said. But I'm not understanding. And then Crystal, she tells Garcelle, I mean, you have the conversation with Sutton. You don't think that anything is fishy with that? Like, you don't think it's wrong? Garcelle's like, no, I don't see anything wrong with what Sutton said. I don't see where you're coming from, Crystal. And I do wonder if her opinion is swayed one way towards Sutton, simply because she's best friends with her and she's never going to see her friend in a bad lighting. I do wonder if Sutton did step outside of their line in their friendship. Will Garcelle actually call her out on it, or will she just be like, okay, just don't do that again, or it'll just be our little secret, we could continue being besties? I do wonder that, but we'll have to see that if they ever do bump heads eventually. So then Sutton, she tells Crystal, you know what, Crystal, I don't know about you, because I've heard that you like to come for the strongest person in the group, and you try to take them down, and you try to be just like them. And then Lisa Rinna in her confessional, she's like, well, I did hear the same thing about Crystal, but I wasn't going to say anything about it. And I'm like, oh, so Lisa, now all of a sudden you choose to not say anything about somebody on this cast. What about all the other rumors or all the other speculations about anybody else on this show within the last couple of seasons that you heard that you're so quick to throw out there, like, oh, were you accused of this? Did you do that? Did you do this? Did you do this in your bathroom? Were you doing that? Denise, did you sleep with so-and-so? But that's okay, right? But here, that's too much for you. This, you're not going to say anything about Crystal. How interesting. But then we left it off with that. I mean, I don't really see that they came to a conclusion here. Crystal is just like, they're never going to say it my way. Kyle, she's like, oh, well, I was there for this situation. Kyle is just trying to make make it about herself. She's the read number 2. She's just trying to make the whole thing about herself and how she relates to it. She's like, I was there for the conversation. I don't see how the whole thing is dark. I don't see how the whole thing is dark, until she finally realizes that the whole conversation that they had was the following day, that she wasn't there. But then Crystal, she did make a good point by saying that Kyle is only going to see what Kyle feels and how she interprets things in her head instead of seeing how she feels about it. But I don't know, y'all. What do y'all think about this whole situation? I mean, Crystal, I don't know. It's a sticky situation. I feel like everybody at this table is full of BS and somebody is lying. We're going to get to the bottom of this. And that was that, everybody. That was the episode. What did everybody think about this whole entire puzzle of everybody just walking around in circles and just all over the place? Because to me, it was just so confusing to keep up with everybody. Like, you're saying one thing, you're saying one thing, you're alluding this, you're alluding that. It's just way too much. Like, can we move on from this? And just leave this in the past? Like, this is so season 11 and we're bringing this up. Why? But let me know what you thought about this episode down in the comments. Bye, everybody. Mwah.